The Pastor Who Hated Church. Follow Elvis Jung on his journey of redemption. Chapter 14. A group gathered in Elvis's office on a bright, sunny Thursday morning. Sparrow and her band were set up. Nick and Valparaiso were there for technical support. Elvis was the director. While crammed into his office, he gave some last-minute instructions to the group. When we get there, we need to find a secluded part of the park. We don't want anyone wandering into the shot. We also have to respect other people who want to use the park. And it's got to be bright. Val, you and Nick will hold the silver screens. I can run the camera. Sparrow frowned. Hold on, I disagree. We should do it with a lot of people around. It'll make the video pop. She folded her arms. Elvis, why are you running the camera? That's my thing, said Nick. He folded his arms and stood beside Sparrow. I have nothing to complain about, but I don't want to be left out, said Valparaiso, who crossed his arms. He took his place beside Sparrow and Nick. Elvis looked at the three of them and sighed. Fine, I'll hold the silver reflector screen. Sparrow, we'll set up where you want. It's no skin off my nose. Sparrow pinched Elvis's cheek. You're sweet. Nick punched him in the arm. Val gave him a fist pump. Let the creative people do what they do, Elvis told himself. The day was perfect. They arrived early in the morning as the sun was rising over the trees. It was bright and cheerful. The band set up with the sun at their backs. Val and Elvis stood off the shot to reflect the light. Nick immediately started filming. Sparrow, start singing when you're ready. We'll dub the music in editing, said Nick. Sparrow started singing. She stretched her arms out wide and spun around as though she was embracing the sun. She finished singing Fire in My Bones, then set up for another take. This time, Nick gave Val a guitar and Elvis a set of bongos, telling them to pretend to play. Nick moved around in and out of the band. Elvis struggled to keep up. Val seemed to know just what to do. He jammed on the guitar like he was a natural. Sparrow held the screen to make sure light was in the shot. Elvis followed their lead the best he could until Nick stopped filming. All right, do the song again, but this time I want to shoot Elvis and Val holding their screens. It'll be great, trust me, said Nick. Nick shot Sparrow singing, then turned to Elvis and Val. Elvis found it unnerving. The way Nick bounced around, it seemed like he was moving without any plan whatsoever. Elvis was beginning to wonder if this video was a good idea. Once again, Sparrow finished singing. Nick kept shooting. This time, I want you to pretend to set up. Laugh, tell jokes, that kind of stuff. Make it look natural, said Nick. Everyone started milling around. No, pick up stuff, move it around. Val and Elvis, keep it natural, barked Nick. Sparrow shrugged. The three moved things around. They laughed and pointed at things. A small crowd began to gather and watch the production. Don't look at the crowd. Pretend they're not there. Natural. It's got to be natural, said Nick. They kept moving around. Naturally funny? Asked Sparrow. For some of us, that's a lot to ask, said Val. A couple of the band members chuckled. I know that God's watching us right now, 'cause his eye is on the sparrow, said Val. That's terrible, said Sparrow. They all laughed. Nick made sure he caught the shot. After a few minutes of setup, Nick looked at the sky. We need to do this one more time. The sun's getting higher, so I want to take a few more shots from different angles. Then Val and Elvis were told to play again. Nick rolled in the grass and took shots looking skyward. Sparrow, look down. Don't move. The sun's directly behind your head. Keep singing. This looks awesome. Loving it. Keep singing. Don't move. Just look down and sing to the camera. Midway through the song, a lone policeman approached Nick, interrupting the shooting. Good morning, said the policeman. Good morning, officer, replied Sparrow. Who's in charge of this production? Asked the officer. That'd be me, said Elvis. The officer turned around. Do you have permission to be here? Why would we need permission? Asked Elvis. You can't just shoot a video in a public place without the proper permits, said the officer. I don't understand, said Sparrow. Why do we need permits? It's a public park. We're not hurting anyone. We'll be gone in a couple of minutes. Look, nobody seems to mind." "Ma'am, I'm here because somebody complained." "Who complained?" Sparrow yelled loud enough for the crowd to hear. "That's not important," said the officer. "You can't do this. It's a religious gathering. We have a right to religious expression," said Nick. "I hear what you're saying, but you can't use religion to justify an unlawful gathering," said the officer. "We're not leaving. You can't do this," said Nick defiantly. Elvis watched in horror as the officer called for backup. "We need to be respectful," said Elvis as he got between his group and the police officer. "We have rights. This officer, I should say dictator, can't impinge on our rights," demanded Nick. The police backup arrived quickly. Suddenly, 2 lines had formed. On one side was the police. On the other, the group from the table. Elvis stood between them, hoping to avoid the confrontation. Nick continued recording. "Please disperse in an orderly fashion. This is an unlawful gathering. Failure to disperse will result in the arrests of everyone present," said a police officer over a bullhorn. A larger crowd gathered. Off in the distance, Elvis saw a TV news van setting up. "Worshipping is not a crime," said Nick. The police charged. Nick held onto his camera as he was knocked to the ground. He pressed an upload button on his camera. "Worship is not a crime!" screamed Nick. Elvis was hit by a stray club. Blood poured down his face. As though in a trance, he watched as his group was knocked down and arrested. He was blindsided and knocked to the ground. When he came to, he was being dragged across the ground by 2 officers. A crowd was watching as he was lifted into the paddy wagon. "What have we done?" Elvis asked. His heart was in his throat. "Don't worry," said Nick. "I was able to upload the video before they took my camera. This'll go viral." His white teeth stood out against his blood-stained face. After being processed, Elvis was put into a cell all by himself. He had a splitting headache. The jail echoed with each sound, the noise pounding in his ears. This was wrong. Everything about this was wrong. The words of the processing officer still fresh in his ears. "You're being charged with initiating an unlawful gathering and resisting arrest. Anything you say will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. Do you understand your rights?" "Say nothing!" shouted Nick from across the room. That's when the group was separated. Elvis sat in his cell. He found himself reminiscing about his days at Evergreen. How bad were things that I wish I was back there, he thought to himself. How can this be ministry when I feel so ashamed? How is this meaningful? Elvis was gripped with a profound sense of uselessness. Whatever this was, it wasn't ministry. Politics, yes. Ministry, real ministry, no. Then he thought about his parents. What would they say? "I told you so," mumbled Elvis. "I told you so what?" came a voice from across the cell. He failed to notice a rough-looking man sitting in the opposite corner of the cell. "Sorry, I was talking to myself," said Elvis. "What are you in for?" said the man. "We did something in the park we weren't supposed to. Then they said we resisted arrest. What about you?" "Cool, brother. I cut a man for ripping me off," said the man. "What were you doing in the park? Something indecent?" "We were shooting a video for a worship song." "What the hell's a worship song?" "It's for a church," said Elvis. He didn't want a conversation. The man laughed long and hard. "Ha ha 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 ha! Jesus freaks! You got arrested for running around being Jesus freaks? Sweet Jesus, the end of the world is near," he said. Then he started swearing and laughing. It was the perfect end to the morning. Chris and Stewie, the chef, arrived about an hour later to post bail. Elvis didn't even look in her eyes when he was released. The rest of the gang had already been released. Nick's face was cleaned and bandaged. Everyone was laughing and joking. "That was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Did you see how the one cop smashed you in the head? It was amazing, said Stewie enthusiastically. I know, right? They had to give me 9 stitches. Tell you what, that really hurt. No kidding. It hurt when they slammed my head into the ground. You're hurt 10 times worse. Did you see Sparrow kick that cop? She totally nailed him. Yeah, but he had a helmet on. Broke my foot, said Sparrow. Nick, did you get it all on camera? Asked Stewie. Downloaded it before they took it away. Got it all. The kick, my hit to the head. I even got the cop who laid out Elvis. You should have seen it. He hit him like a linebacker. How do your ribs feel, Elvis? His ribs didn't hurt until Nick pointed it out. Up until that point, the only things he felt were the headache and the shame. Now that it was mentioned, Elvis hurt to breathe. I'm okay, he wheezed. Chris grabbed him and gave him a hug. He groaned in pain. All the way back to church, the group talked and laughed. Not Elvis. He sat quietly, except when Val elbowed him in the ribs. He felt his face flush as he shrieked from the stabbing pain of broken ribs. Sorry, Elvis, said Val. Hey, where's Kip? Nick asked Chris. He's at a press conference. This thing got huge in a hurry, thanks to Nick. The video's gone viral. The church groups are up in arms. I'm taking you to the church now. Kip's waiting with a bunch of TV crews. National ones, too, said Chris. A couple of minutes later, they pulled into the parking lot at the coffee house. It was packed with vans from TV networks from all over the area. Several were international. It was a who's who of cable news. Kip was outside waiting for them. Great, you're here. Unbelievable, guys. Come on, we need to go through the back way, said Kip. They snuck through the offices. Sylvia was there to greet them. Elvis, you have a stack of messages. I put them on your desk, she said. Elvis felt out of breath from rushing through the parking lot. When he tried to speak to Sylvia, his words failed. Halfway down the hall, he collapsed. He landed on his broken ribs and passed out from the pain. There was a frenzy of activity. Chris and Sparrow fell to their knees with Val behind them. Kip paced around saying, No, no, no! This can't be happening! Everybody's waiting! Sylvia came down the hallway. Kip, go with Sparrow and Nick and meet the reporters. Stewie, take the band into the meeting room. Val, Chris, and I'll get Elvis into his office. We can't keep him out here, said Sylvia. No, wait, said Kip. This is great. Film this. Nick looked wildly at Sylvia and nodded. Right. Kip and Sparrow opened the door to the coffee house. The flash of cameras was blinding. A couple of camera crews filmed Elvis sprawled out on the floor. Stewie took charge of the rest of the group. They hid in a meeting room, waiting for their turn with the press. Elvis slowly came to his senses. He was helped to his feet and led to his office. They set him in his chair and locked the door. Are you all right? Asked Chris. Elvis struggled to breathe between his words. Broken ribs. Can you do the interview? Asked Sylvia. Kip really needs you to do this. Elvis was about to speak, but he coughed up blood instead. We need to get him to a hospital. Now, said Val. Chris, can you get the car ready? Sylvia, get Stewie and help him to the car. Then let Kip know what we've done. Chris was in tears as she bolted to the door. Sylvia found Stewie, then slipped into the coffee house to whisper the news to Kip. As she slid past the door, a flurry of camera flashes temporarily blinded her, but she quickly made her way to the podium and found Kip. Their lawyer was at the podium. They've taken Elvis to the hospital. He was coughing up blood. Kip's eyes widened. What? He spoke so loudly the lawyer stopped speaking. Excuse me, he said as he huddled with Kip and Sylvia. What's going on? Elvis is on his way to the hospital. He's coughing up blood, said Sylvia. Is it from his injuries related to the incident? I think so, yes. Something about his ribs. He collapsed in the hallway, said Sylvia. All right, Kip, stand by. You'll need to address this. It only improves our case, said the lawyer. Kip grinned and nodded. Sylvia slipped through the door and returned to her desk. Thank you for listening to The Pastor Who Hated Church, written by Timothy G.A. Cooper, narrated by Greg Cooper. Tune in next week to hear the next chapter in Elvis Jung's Tale of Redemption.